So without further ado, it's now time to get to the last 8 races of the day here for round 1, day 1 of the 2019 BNL Karting Series season. It's Micromax final number 2 this time, with Tommy van der Stroys and Kasper Schurmans on the front row, with Max Swiderski and Thomas Stuyven on row number 2. Dries van Langendonk and Aaron Ferrazano will be in front of Olivier Jonkers and Matej Radenkovic. Karel Stout and Tom van Langendonk will be rounding out the top 10. And you've got Van Wees, Tobben, Van den Berg, Pappenberg, Menton and Henri Velou. Velou was called to the stewards a little bit earlier on today. So it's now time for the formation lap, and this time it will be slightly longer. It will be 13 minutes plus an additional lap on this particular encounter, as it will be for the other 4 main finals and also the 2 at the end of the day. So the drivers will now need to get into position ahead of the 2x2 rolling start formation for their second and final race of the day. We'll see them back in action for qualifying tomorrow morning at around 10 to 10 local time, as Van der Stroys and Schurmans again lead the 16 strong into formation. So the top 10 now bunching up quite nicely as one of the drivers now tries to retake their place. And just keeping an eye on who that is. That looks to be the number 3 of Karel Stout, up in 10th position. So we're about to get the action underway here for the final time for the Micromax category, our youngest competitors in the field. However, they have showed us that they can provide some great exciting racing. They head into the tram lines, 13 minutes on the clock, and we go lights out, heading into turn 1. Great start, it looks like, by Tommy van der Stroys. Heading into turn number 1, and along with him, I think, has gone Max Swiderski. So it's 2 abreast, and I think that was probably Thomas Stuyven going up a position there, and has just done so, getting past Olivier Jonkers up into turn number 6. And we've had some comings together. 4 carts involved, 2 stranded on the infield between the entrance to turn number 6 and the exit onto the back straight. So 2 of them have got back going again. So 2 now eliminated, the other 2 now carrying on. So Van der Stroys leads from Max Swiderski. Looks like Stuyven's getting a wriggle on with the number 15. Looks to be Dries van Langendonk there. Thomas Stuyven up into 4th place. Kasper Schurmans 5th. Olivier Jonkers in 6th, with Matej Radenkovic in 7th, ahead of Karel Stout. Yes, and unfortunately it was Tom van Langendonk and Pappenberg that came together, I believe, with Ferrazano and Van Wees. I think, well, it looks like Van Langendonk, Pappenberg, and also Menton may not be taking any further part. The 2 drivers, so I can see the number 26 of Tom van Langendonk running in, as well as Pappenberg. So Pappenberg also an early casualty. So Tom Pappenberg in the number 48, along with Jake Menton. So 3 drivers not taking any further part in this race. The lead between Tommy van der Stroys and Max Swiderski is just under 2/10, but Swiderski is looking very racy indeed behind the number 54. Other movers, Henri Velou now up into 9th place, ahead of Kaz Tobben, who rounds out the top 10. So at the moment it is Van der Stroys, who's coming under pressure from Max Swiderski, coming through into the right-hand sweeper at turn number 8. And is trying to find a way past. Meanwhile, Stalven is fending off Kasper Schormans. Dries van Langendonk and also Olivier Jonkers are not that far behind. Looks like Matej Radenkovic is looking a bit lonely in 7th position. 10 minutes plus an additional lap to go. And Swiderski is still keeping Tommy van der Stroys very, very honest indeed here this afternoon. A little bit further back, has that been a change? Yes, Kasper Schormans, I think, has just got past Thomas Strauven for 3rd place, with Olivier Jonkers also having made a positional change. Up to 5th goes the number 16, past the number 15 of his teammate at GKS Levens Power, Dries van Langendonk. But it is a case of not if, it's when Max Swiderski might be able to get past Tommy van der Stroys. If anyone watched any of the footage of the BNL Karting Series kickoff a month ago, when Len Nys was trying his absolute utmost to get past the number 54 of van der Stroys, it was coming to no avail, as there's another change between Strauven and Schormans. Strauven gets the advantage going through turn 10, but Schormans got really good purchase coming out of turn 11, goes to the outside line, heading into turn number 12, cuts back in nice and neatly there, gets the toe, and goes side by side with Thomas Strauven and pulls alongside and pulls past before they've even reached the apex of turn number 2. That's great work from the number 40 from the Netherlands. Getting past Strauven from Belgium. A little bit further down the order, there's some good positional changes between Stout, Volu and Kaz Tobben. That is the battle for 8th to 10th place. Oh, now we've had yellow flags are being waved going into, well, the exit of turn number 5. As they're just trying to get the marshalling team, who do a fantastic job here, just trying to get the youngster to safety. So at the moment, it's still pretty much a stalemate between Tommy van der Stroys and the 54 and Max Swiderski on the number 19, both from the Netherlands. So Swiderski has clearly got an archer's bow with an arrow pointed at the back of Tommy van der Stroys, and is just waiting for the optimum time to release said arrow. As in, when is he going to overtake the number 54? Your guess is as good as mine, but we still have a lot of time in this race. Just under 7.5 minutes plus 1 additional lap to go in the last Micromax race of the very first day of competition for the 2019 BNL Karting Series season. All Swiderski's looking very menacing indeed behind the number 54 of Tommy van der Stroys as the pair of line astern coming through into the right-hander at turn number 10. Who's going to have the better run out of 11? Behind Schormans is fending off Strauven. But van der Stroys is still keeping Swiderski at bay. A little bit further back, you've got Jonkers still ahead, I think, of Dries van Langendonk, with Tom eliminated early on. Swiderski still not really trying to force the issue, and is waiting for that opportune time to make that correct overtake and make it cleanly, because sometimes a race-winning move does not happen within just a couple of corners. It's more like it could take a few minutes even. And then when you have to factor in that these drivers are going to have to try their utmost to keep things clean, minimise the amount of potential damage in terms of the chassis. Apologies there, I'm just moving my chair. With Tommy van der Stroys still there in first. Swiderski was just under a tenth behind, as Schormans is still keeping Thomas Strauven at bay. The battle between Dries van Langendonk, who's now got past Olivier Jonkers for 5th place. So that is an inter-team battle, and here comes Jonkers back on the offensive, pulls side by side. The inside run goes to him going into turn 2. That was quite fair. It was firm, but it was fair from Olivier Jonkers. So good job there by the number 15. Still concentrating on this battle at the front of the field, with Tommy van der Stroys was almost 2 tenths up on having a gap between himself and Max Swiderski, but Swiderski is just really waiting and biding his time and thinking, I know I can do this. I need to wait for the right opportunity. As whoa, Kasper Schulmans, that was a great move. I think either you got Thomas Stuyven round the outside, or you did one of the best defensive moves I think I've seen in a very, very long time.
One more, please.
Yeah, could I also call Jules Castro 106 OK Junior driver to the stewards immediately? Jules Castro OK Junior driver 106 to the stewards immediately, please. Thank you. Meanwhile, we'll concentrate on this battle at the front, and also the battle for third and fourth, and fifth and sixth. And then we get a little bit further back. So behind Matej Radenkovic, who is actually having a very peaceful race, I must admit, in 7th position. You've got Stout, Karel Stout, Henri Velou and Kaz Tobben battling still over 8th place, with Stout now in the prime position to try and hang on to that for the next 3 minutes and 50 seconds, plus an additional lap. Now the funny thing is, I'm noticing something happening here, and it's quite visible. I don't necessarily need a timing screen to indicate that to me, but whilst Swiderski and van der Stroys are battling, is it me, or is Kasper Schulmans and Thomas Stuyven trying to work together to catch up to the leaders? Well, it seems to possibly be working, because the two at the front did a 1 minute 2.65. Schulmans and Stuyven between them did a 1:02.558 for Schulmans and 1:02.564 for Thomas Stuyven. So could they be working together? Best lap at the moment is from Kasper Schulmans on that last lap, as Swiderski still keeping there or thereabouts on the back bumper of Tommy van der Stroys. And van der Stroys, I haven't really seen him glance over either shoulder. Oh, there we go. Another move from Thomas Stuyven up the inside of Kasper Schulmans to retake 3rd position into the turn 10 right-hander. That's a great job by the young Belgian on the number 9. Gap now extends between van der Stroys and Swiderski to 0.2 of a second, but Swiderski closes up in the braking zone. He knows that in some way Tommy van der Stroys has become his marker. So where van der Stroys brakes, it gives Swiderski an opportunity to analyse the situation and see whether he can make it work. He's about a kart length and a half behind, as Stuyven has just extended the gap between himself and Schulmans for 3rd position, with 1 minute and 56 seconds on the clock. But the battle for the lead still raging on. Still a stalemate between numbers 54 and number 19. Tommy van der Stroys ahead of Max Swiderski. Two Dutchmen fighting it out, mano a mano, at the front of the field. Whereas the battle for 3rd has started to go more into the favour of Thomas Stuyven. And then behind them, Olivier Jonkers and Dries van Langendonk are play fighting like a couple of little puppies. But obviously I don't want to get into blows between the two of them. We've seen GKS teammates clash already today. I don't really want to see a repeat of that, because one of the biggest rules in racing is don't take out your teammate. So we've got 1 minute and 8 seconds on the clock to go. And Adam Ferrazzano has come climbing back up the order. Now up into 8th place, having got past Kaz Tobben, Henri Velou and Karel Stout. So the number 46 from Belgium, now up into 8th place, has a little bit of a gap to close, and I don't think there'll be enough time on the clock to do so, because it's to the tune of 8.2 seconds. So van der Stroys now has around a 3.5 kart length lead between himself and Swiderski. Still even Stevens between Strauven and Shawmans. They've been trading haymakers between each other, but it's been firm and fair between the pair of them as Shawmans mounts an offensive with 23 seconds on the clock and goes up the inside of Thomas Strauven, which has to show that Strauven needed to actually stay wide in order to avoid any contact there. So good peripheral vision there from the number 9 to anticipate the situation and react accordingly. So it's going to be this plus an additional lap to go as the number 2 of Horian van Wees comes across the start-finish line, the 13th runner who's still circulating. As are we going to have this again? Strauven's back up the inside. He's repeated the same overtaking manoeuvre on Casper Schomans for 3rd place on turn number 10, but Schomans is bump drafting and goes round to the outside to try and cut back in, retake the position, which the number 40 is absolutely doing brilliantly there, and actually was quite firm, but did not quite clearly force. Well, he could have actually taken a bit of a tighter line to allow him to facilitate the overtake and complete the move, but I think that was pretty much there or thereabouts. There was no rubbing, there was no wheels clashing between the pair, and as far as I'm concerned, that was fairly clean. Final lap of the race here for Micromax to conclude their racing this very day, Saturday, March 23rd, with Tommy van der Stroys. You know what, he's actually really controlled the situation, but Swiderski, I think, has just shown to the number 54, his fellow countryman, saying, you know what, you might have won the first one, but I'm out here to win as well. So we're about to come to the conclusion. The checkered flag is being prepared as our 2 leaders from the Netherlands, with Tommy van der Stroys again making it a good run to the finish and takes the win, punches the air with one fist, one finger a la Sebastian Vettel. Max Swiderski's got to be really happy with that. That was so consistent. But after day 1 for Micromax, I think the person in prime pole position at the minute is the number 54 of Tommy van der Stroys from the Netherlands, leading home, in fact, a 1-2-3. Because Tommy van der Stroys took the win, Max Swiderski finished just 2/10 behind, but Casper Schomans on the last lap got one up on Thomas Strauven to make it a Dutch 1-2-3 here at the home of champions. Olivier Jonkers rounded out the top 5, a further 7.3 seconds adrift, having battled tooth and nail for quite a bit, and Pitt, Dries van Langendonk, his GKS Lemons Power teammate in the number 15, to 5th position. Matej Radenkovic finished in 7th ahead of Adam Ferrazano. Henri Velou finished in 9th with Karel Stout from Belgium, rounding out the top 10 in the number 3. Mick van den Berg, Kaz Tobben, Horion van Wees were the last of the 13 classified finishers, with Tom Bangelangendonk, Tom Pappenberg and Jake Menton not completing the full race distance here. They actually all retired on lap number 1. We now go to our last race of the day here on Saturday, March 23rd, 2019. It's the final race of the first day of action for our Mini-Max competitors, and the grid is as follows. On pole position, it's race 1 winner Tim Gerhardt ahead of Jaden Thien in the 107. That's your front row. Enzo Boll and Nick Gerhardt comprise row 2 in numbers 155 and number 60 respectively. Jasper Leenert, who was in contention for a top 3 finish last time out, starts from 5th alongside the number 148 of Max Knappen from the Netherlands. Matthias van Goertem in the 145 will line up alongside Teun Schmidt from the Netherlands on the 166 on row number 4, with Maxim Suchurko and Jules van Huyl rounding out the top 10. So again, with this particular race, it is going to be 13 minutes plus an additional lap. And then we get to something that I think is going to be very exciting for us this weekend. We saw the last 2 qualifying heats for the junior and the senior max contingents being very, very entertaining and very competitive indeed. We'll have 2 second chance qualifying heats with the top 8 going through pending any post-race decisions through either scrutineering or race control or the stewards. The top 8 will then go into the top 36 final at the end of today. So just waiting for one of the drivers. That could be Jules van Huyl and the 121 that's just gone into position. No, that was Maxim Suchurko. My apologies there. So, all 10 drivers lined up in formation, ready to go racing for the final time. So 13 minutes have been set on the timer, and then we'll add another additional lap to that to conclude the Mini-Max action here at the home of Champions Karting, Genk in Belgium, here on the first day of competition for the 2019 BNL Karting Series season. No, full start. Oh, we've had 3 full starts in total today, and now the Mini-Maxes have just pulled one of their own. So again, race control or race direction, clearly not at all happy about that. So they have to just reset, reboot, or a hard reset on your smartphone if you want to call it that. But it's very different when they have to refocus, resettle, and get back into the zone ahead of their 13-minute plus 1 additional lap race here. So the red lights are reset back on the starting gantry. The timer is still at 13 minutes plus an additional lap. We will be ready to go racing very, very shortly indeed, as the formation gets into what it should be very early, before we've even hit turn number 10. Good job, guys. Thank you, Christine. She's just handed me who are going to be battling in our second chance qualifying heats later on. And that's going to be very, very exciting indeed. Obviously, what will happen is if we go to a case of a tie, the result is actually based on quality. So it just depends on what happens. But there's going to be quite a few drivers when it comes to 29th to 46th in Senior Max. And I know we could see some very good action. Now it's time to get the racing underway for the final time. Hopefully this time around for the Mini-Max. And we go lights out. Oh, that's nearly 4 abreast going into turn 1 there. God, crikey. I thought the seniors and juniors were at it. Now the Mini-Maxes have seen what the juniors and seniors can do and go, oh, we can put on a bit of a show. And the top 8 is starting to pull away. It looks like Maxim Suchurko and Jules van Huyl are being left a little bit in the dust, or are they? Let's just see. Looks like Teun Schmidt has lost out to Matthias van Goertem. Has got past Matthias van Goertem. In the meantime, Nick Gerhardt has got past Enzo Boll. Max Knappen's got past Jasper Leenert. So at the minute, the leader, as I speak, is Tim Gerhards, followed by Jaden Thiem, followed by Nick Gerhards, Enzo Boll, Max Knappen, rounding out the top 5. Jasper Leynert's down in, well, I'm just keeping an eye on what's going on here. Things have been known to change out of my line of sight. Well, Leynert's is pushing, and hang on a second. Enzo Boll's just gone up the inside of Nick Gerhards, who's trying to return the favour. That's left the door open for Max Knappen there. So I think Max Knappen has just got past, and that is for 4th position. Meanwhile, at the minute, the gap is quite literally extending. It's like Tim Gerhards is casting out a fishing reel and just waiting for something to bite and is having to use a bit more reel than normal. So at least he doesn't have to worry about things at the minute, but there are still 11 minutes and 15 seconds plus an additional lap to go. So Max Knappen is ahead of Nick Gerhards, and that is in. So Nick is down in 5th place. Enzo Boll is up into 3rd now in the 155. Matthias van Goetham has lost out to both Suchurko and Van Hoel in the process, so now is 10th. But with the entire field separated by 4.5 seconds, anything can happen. And when I say something like that, it normally does. Commentator's curse, I don't know. But in the meantime, things are moving in the way of Tim Gerhardt's favour because he's doing a fantastic job at the front of the field. Gap was 1.1 seconds over Jaden Thiem, with it being a top 5 sweep by the Netherlands in this. With Tim Gerhards, Jaden Thiem, Enzo Boll, Max Knappen and Nick Gerhards, your top 5 with 10 minutes to go on the clock plus an additional lap. Jasper Leynert's is trying to close up, as is Tern Schmidt in the 166. Suchurko isn't that far adrift either, probably round about nearly 0.6 of a second, as we're getting some bump drafting going up into turn number 2, with someone nearly making an overtake there. Gap now between Tim Gerhards and Jaden Thiem, now up to 1.275 seconds. So Tim has got clean air in front of him, clean air behind him, and a good distinctive gap between himself and the 107 of Jaden Thiem. Enzo Boll is about just under a second adrift of the number 107 in 2nd place at the minute. But Boll is coming under pressure from Max Knappen, who was nearly 0.3 adrift on the last tour when they crossed the start-finish line. But Knappen looking very, very astute there, and a little bit further back down the order. We've got Matthias van Goetham battling with Van Hoel and Suchurko in the process. So still battles up and down the order. There may only be 10 competitors in this particular category, but I tell you what, they are providing us with some great action as Enzo Boll is really having to fend off Max Knappen as they go through turns 4, now into turn number 5, the right-hander at turn 6. So will Knappen have an opportunity to get some slipstreaming here? Wasn't quite close enough, probably about 4 or 5 kart lengths behind Enzo Boll in the 155. Now they come through the right-hand sweeper at turn number 8. And the gaps are extending between Jaden Thiem in 2nd and Tim Gerhards last time around was 1.574 seconds. Could it be a little bit more than that? As Van Hoel is fending off. Well, no. Looks like Suchurko is fending off Matthias van Goetham at the minute. As Enzo Boll is having to defend hard against Max Knappen, whereas Jasper Leynert's is thinking, well, I've got a chance, I could get past Nick here. Not quite yet. Still 7.5 minutes plus an additional lap to go. and Max Knappen and battling with Enzo Bol. This is really an enticing battle here. It might be for third position, but when both Tim Gerhardt and Jaden Thien have checked out, the number 50 of Tim Gerhardt's had a lead of nearly 2 seconds. What is it now on this lap? 2.025 between first and second. Meanwhile, Max Knappen was less than 2/10 adrift off of the back bumper of Enzo Bol as the pair now go towards turn number 6. So the running order with 6 minutes and 28 seconds to go. It's Tim Gerhardt's leading by a clear 2 seconds off of Jaden Thien. Then it's a further 1.4 seconds back to the battle that those who are watching at home that you can see on the screen before you is Enzo Bol in the 1:55 and Max Knappen on the 1:48. Nick Gerhardt is fending off Jasper Leenerts. Tern Schmidt is fending off Jules Van Hul from Belgium, with Maxim Sucherko and Matthias van Gotham also having a nice little battle of their own in 9th and 10th place. So good little scraps up and down the order. The two leaders have quite literally started to run away with it a bit, especially Tim Gerhardt. He's 2.267 seconds ahead of Jaden Thien. I don't see that Thien might have a response in order to counteract that. Because we know what happened in the last race, that Tim Gerhardt's knocked away substantially within about 3 laps, a 1.2 second disadvantage, and then turned it into a lead of 6/10 after lap number 4, having passed Jaden Thien for the lead in the latter half of the race itself. 5 minutes plus an additional lap to go here in the last race for Minimax today. So Knappen still keeping Enzo Bol very, very honest in this encounter. And it's quite interesting to see the sort of like respective styles. For those at home that are watching, when they're getting the aerodynamic tow from the kart in front, what you'll find is that basically the kart in front is punching a hole in the air, and that's allowing a little bit of a vacuum. So what the driver behind is able to do is actually to not have to push down on the throttle as hard as the driver in front, because they're punching that hole in the air and just making it easier. So the person behind can then use that extra throttle travel to maximise the opportunity to get an overtaking manoeuvre. And as I say that, Knappen closes up really, really close to the back bumper of Enzo Bol, as does Jasper Leenerts on Nick Gerhardt, and that's the battle for 5th and 6th position respectively. So it is about making it count and timing it to perfection. That's the whole point of racecraft, that you find an advantage that works in your favour, and you can probably affect that pendulum swing towards you rather than the opposition. And just through that corner there, Max Knappen took a tighter line than Enzo Bol going through the exit of turn number 8. The pair are now running on their way down to turn number 10 before the left-hander at turn 11. And with regards to the respective drivers, you know, each of them has their own setup, what they feel comfortable with. So one driver might find they have a wheel that goes up in the air. I think I've noticed that a little bit on the left rear of Enzo Bol's kart, that, you know, the thing is yes, it's rear wheel drive, but if one contact patch is not touching the ground, that's going to give them a distinct disadvantage because they're not getting optimum traction. The other wheel is doing the majority of the work. That could put stress onto the rear axle and cause a potential mechanical failure. So, but it seems like Enzo Bol has got the measure of Max Knappen as we head into around about the last 2.25 minutes, plus an additional lap in this race. And you know when they say that you're not talking about the leader's doing a really good job. Yes, well done, Tim Gerhardt. Was nearly 3.5 seconds ahead of Jaden Thien on the last tour. Now it is nearly 4 seconds, 3.956 to be exact, between the number 50 in first position and the number 107 in second place. Enzo Bol, in the meantime, has been trying to put in some fast laps, did a 59.9, but Tim Gerhardt, with all the clear air in front and behind, has managed to just punch the air through and has just done a 59.684. His best lap was a 59.619 that was done 3 laps ago, and he's running consistently in the 59.6s. Jaden Thien dropping back, he's doing round about sort of 60.2s. Enzo Bol's just done the best lap of his race on a 59.901, and is trying to keep that gap extending between himself and Max Knappen, who isn't really having any of it, to be completely fair, with the way he's driving at the moment. Last 60 seconds plus an additional lap. So Tim Gerhardt heads up into turn number 2. Oh, that's very interesting. Jaden Thien might be under threat, because I've just seen the times that Enzo Bol and Max Knappen have just done. Now, are they working together, I think? Because they can battle it out over second position if Jaden Thien falls into their clutches. So Thien just did a 60.138 on his last lap. Enzo Bol a 59.990 and Max Knappen a 1 minute .030. So Jaden Thien is around a 1/10.5 slower at the minute than Enzo Bol, and now they are starting to get closer. I think it's going to be we could end up the time expiring very shortly. Yep, the last lap board is being prepared. So it's this and what? Yep. So it's so just about made it. I think did Tim Gerhardt, I believe, and has extended his gap over Jaden Thien to 4.8 seconds. But Enzo Bol is looming, and is looming large on the back bumper of the 107. He's getting closer. Is he going to have enough time to get past his fellow countryman, having taken 2.5 tenths? That's 2.5 tenths, 3.5 tenths actually. He's just taken out of Jaden Thien. And as I say that, they come through the sweeper at turn 8, the right-hander, where they're pulling over 1.5 times the force of gravity. And they're coming through into turn 10, so well, the checkered flag is actually being waved, but according to my timing, it says final lap. I think we have... Now, I'm just wondering, did Tim Gerhardt actually pass? No, checkered flag is out. Full course yellows have been employed. And some great sportsmanship being shown between Jaden Thien, Enzo Bol and Max Knappen. So that looks to be that's been concluded. I'm not going to contest it because, I mean, I'm just wondering if it was just like literally on the wire and they went, no, it's going to be final lap. So I didn't want to sort of call it. I just waited to see what would happen at the start-finish line. Just bear with me 1 second. Can I call driver number 224? 224, Junior Max, that's Daniel Hunt. 224, Daniel Hunt. Please report to the stewards immediately. Thank you. So, when that was all said and done, Tim Gerhardt's won that quite convincingly and ends the day on a high after 2 out of 2 by 5.763 seconds ahead of Jaden Thien from the Netherlands, with Enzo Bol in third, Max Knappen a further nearly half a second adrift in fourth. Nick Gerhardt rounds out a clean sweep for the Dutch in the top 5 ahead of Jasper Leeners, Jules van Hoel, Teun Schmidt, Matthias van Goethem and Maxim Sucherko, rounding out the 10 strong. Thank you very much, Ben. Ben van der Stucken down in the pits, speaking to race winner Tim Gerhardt. Now it is time for a little bit of high-charged action, because we've got the first of 2 second-chance qualifying heats. The top 8 from this go through to the top 36 final a little bit later on this afternoon. It's Junior Max up first of all, with Christian de Klein and Lars Zanen on the front row. Sam Bergstein and Daniel Surankov on row number 2. That's 219 and 277 respectively. The 218 of Patrick Snoll's Loch Mellis will have alongside Germany's Maurice Bechtel in the number 215. Jano Zopfi and Jaroslav Zimaszka in the numbers 281 and 260 comprise of row number 4. Alexander Abskava and Samuel Stendis and Daniel Hunt round out the 11 strong. Top 8 from this go through to the top 36 final this afternoon, which will take place at just before 4:15 this afternoon local time. That's Central European time. So if you are in Latvia, for instance, you're an hour ahead, so that'll be at about coming up to 5:15. If you're in Georgia, it'll be a further 2 hours ahead, so that will be 7:15. If you're in Belarus, that will be again ahead of us. They're 2 hours, so that will be 7:15. Georgia will be 8:15 in the evening, and in the UK that'll be an hour behind, so coming up to 3:15 in the afternoon. 11 competitors set to battle out for the remaining 8 slots after the 3 qualifying heats meant that we had 28 drivers automatically qualify for the top 36 final this afternoon. These drivers will be battling for 8 coveted spots. And it's going to be even more fast and furious, because we have on the counter 6 minutes plus 1 additional lap. The red lights are on the starting gantry. The Junior Max second chance qualifying heat gets underway here at the home of champions. It has been a very dry day, a bit more muggy, a bit more humid, no sunshine, a lot of cloud cover, but we've been fortunate enough that there has been no rain whatsoever. They go into the tram lines. 6 minutes starts now. Lights out, off into turn 1. It's going to be a race to turn 1 and turn 2. Who wants to get there first? Oh, no, that's not going to work at all. We've had a little clash between who is in 3rd and 4th. That could be Bergstein and Surankov, so that was a little clattering that didn't really need to happen, as the whole field has made it safely through turn 6 for the first time of asking. So at the moment, it looks like Christian de Klein is leading ahead of Lars Zanen, running in the GKS Levens Power colours. Bergstein 3rd, Surankov 4th, Loch Mellis, Bechtel, Zopfi, Zimaszka are your top 8 at the moment, but we still have over 5 minutes to go. plus 1 additional lap. And Christian de Klein has got a lead of around nearly 3.5 tenths of a second over Lars Zeinen. Sorankov now ahead. Well, Bergstein's dropped to 7th, it looks like, which he has. So Lokmelis 4th. Abskava is in 5th, ahead of Zotfi in the 281. That's Jarno. So Dan, I think, would have made it through the qualifying stages. Zimashka up into 8th. So is sitting in the last position, but will have to fend off Bechtel, Stenders and Hunt. That's going to be very, very interesting indeed as this race develops, but there's time fast running out. 4 minutes and 12 seconds plus an additional lap to go. But it is the case that Christian de Klein and Lars Zeinen are moving away. And the battle behind, oh, this is getting really feisty. All they need to do is try, okay, yes, it's pride because of the fact that they want to get past the people in front, because then that elevates them on the grid. However, sometimes discretion is the better path of valour, but you try telling that sometimes to a racing driver, it doesn't get you very far, if I'm quite honest. But these drivers are wanting to get up as far as the order, with de Klein and Zeinen now battling on what is effectively going to be position grid slot number 29 out of 36, which will give them a chance to go through the field in front. So de Klein leads, Zeinen in 2nd position, Lokmelis in 3rd, Sorankov 4th, Abskava from Georgia in 5th, Zotfi, Bergstein and Zimashka all still sitting where they are, but one driver is trying to claw a little bit further towards that top 8. That's Samuel Stendis, who's just got past Maurice Bechtel for what is 9th, but has a bit of a task ahead. The gap between Stendis and Zimashka last time was exactly 2.2 seconds, and Zimashka was actually, I have to say, it was over 5.5 tenths of a second quicker on that last lap. But it depends on what Stendis does now and how much Stendis can claw into that gap, because that might be a bridge too far, a mountain too high, whatever you want to call it. But the two at the front starting to pull away. They have pulled away quite considerably. It was 2.2 seconds between 2nd and 3rd. It's now 2 seconds as Lokmelis has tried to get a little bit more purchase, but Stendis is dropping. Stendis is not going to make it. I don't think either Bechtel and Hunt will do. But then it's about who is going to want to be up further up the grid, as Lokmelis is pulling away from Sorankov, who's currently 4th. Abskava is still in 5th place. Zotfi, Bergstein, Zimashka. That is the top 8. 90 seconds on the clock plus 1 additional lap to go. And when we've got 11 in this one, we've got 17 Senior Max drivers set to compete. Hopefully we see Hayden Cater on the grid after, unfortunately, 2 DNSs. Excuse me. So 1 minute 7 on the clock, as still to go, plus an additional lap, as Lars Zeinen is putting the feelers out quite significantly now on Christian de Klein. So at the front of this race, it's Holland leading from Belgium. So Lokmelis and Sorankov still sitting well in 3rd and 4th. Abskava in 5th. Zimashka is now up into 6th position. So Zimashka would start from 34th place on the top 36 final. Obviously, all results are provisional until they have been ratified and cleared by the relevant people, such as scrutineering, technical, and also race control and stewards. So 14 seconds on the clock to go. It'll be this plus an additional lap for the pair of Christian de Klein and Lars Zenen, who are literally, you couldn't really pull them apart, could you? I think they just want to get there and get to the end. Looks like Lars Zenen might have just decided, you know what, I'm going to be alongside him. I probably might get him in the next race. You could be right there, Lars, but it depends on how much Lars Zenen wants it and to be in position number 29 for the top 36 final. The pair come through turn number 9. Behind them, Lokmelis is now about 1 second ahead of Abskava in 4th place, who's now got past Daniil Tsurankov for position. That's really good work from the Georgian. Zimashka from Belarus in 6th now. Zotfi and Bergstein are still in contention. There is a good gap of about 2.1 seconds. It's the final lap now, as the 2 leaders still are coming through line astern, not making any sudden moves, not making any errors or mistakes that could cost them a place. As Christian de Klein takes a brief look. Well, Lars Zenen was more than just putting the feelers out. He nearly went for that overtake into turn 7. Had to think better of it. Coming through the right-hand sweeper at turn 9. Now, at the moment, this is allowing Patrick's Lokmelis to close up the gap, but he won't have enough of a chance to get at the 2 leaders as they come through turn 11 for the final time. Now it's round turn number 12, and your winner for the second chance heat for the juniors is Christian de Klein from the Netherlands, just ahead of Lars Zenen by 0.143 seconds. A further 4.5 tenths back to Patrick's Knowles Lokmelis. Alexander Abskava from Georgia rounded out the top 4. Great work by the 212. Zimashka, Surankov, Bergstein and Zotfi are your automatic qualifiers provisionally at the minute. So hopefully we'll see if they will be in the Junior Max Top 36 final a bit later on. Right, without further ado, it's time to get our last second chance qualifying heat of the day underway, and there are 17 drivers set to take part in this, 18 in fact, from positions 29 to 46. So Christian Couille and Felix Fargier are on the front row, ahead of Arthur Roche and Germany's Fabian Bock in the numbers 370 and 313 respectively. Danny Creus in the number 318 will have the UK's Alexander Luck alongside for company in the treble 3. Luca Den Hartog and Anthony Overbeek in 360 and 321 make up row 4, ahead of Antoine Antier and Brent Verheyen rounding out the top 10. Pieter Jan Bollen, Felix Jansson, Victor Paulsen, Vincent van Kerkhoven, Marcus Radne, Clementine Benoit and Georges Bersis round out the 17 competitors that will take part in this, and unfortunately it's another DNS for Hayden Cater in the 344. So these 17 drivers over the next 6 minutes plus an additional lap will compete for 8 spots on the grid for the top 36 final later on, which will be the final race of the day here on day 1 of the first race weekend of the 2019 BNL Karting Series season. Oh, we've just been shown... Oh, hang on. Alex, hang on, I see a mechanical black flag possibly being brandished. So one of the... Well, is that going to be the case? Yes, it is. Well, that's going to be a disaster for one of the drivers that are going to be trying to compete in this race. And the number I see... Is that treble 3? Is that Alexander Luck? Who's 6th on the grid. That's the outside of row number 3. Yes, it is. It's flashing on the digi flag. So are they going to start this race? Yes, they will do. So that means that Alexander Luck is eliminated before they've even gotten going. Now that is very strange. I've never seen that a mechanical black flag has been shown to the grid before they've even gone racing. So Alexander Luck, before he's even gotten a chance to qualify for the top 36 final, is out of it before the lights went out. That's disaster for the Brit on the very first day of competition. But all drivers have been able to make it through. Arthur Roche, in the meantime, has gone from 3rd to 1st with... Now, I'm just sort of seeing what's going on here. 385, Felix Jansson has made up a couple of places in the meantime. So just see how the order has changed as they go across the air. So Felix Fargier is now in 2nd position, having started on 2nd, well, 3rd actually. So Arthur Roche has gone from 3rd to 1st. Alex Luck is showing in 5th position, behind Danny Creus and ahead of Anthony Overbeek, with Fabian Bock and Felix Jansson being the 8 at this moment provisional qualifiers, but with the mechanical black flag being shown to Alexander Luck, that eliminates him from this equation. So Luca Den Hartog will be the next one in line, but watch out for the likes of Antoine Antier, Brent Verheyen and Vincent van Kerkhoven, who could get that coveted final spot on the grid. So 4 minutes and 11 on the clock to go, plus an additional lap. Alexander Luck is shown again the mechanical black flag. He normally will have 3 laps to park it, and if he doesn't, we'll get the black flag excluding him. But this is effectively a black flag before you get a black flag, if you understand what I'm saying here, because the mechanical puts you out of the running, and it's not conforming to current regulations. So, Arthur Roche leads from Felix Fargier in 2nd position. Christian Couille from the Netherlands in 3rd. Alexander Luck will need to park it, so I'm going to have to say sorry, I can't put him down as 4th at the moment. Danny Creus will be promoted to 4th, Fabian Bock in 5th, Anthony Overbeek, Felix Jansson, and Luca Den Hartog. Currently showing on the timing screens as, there we have it, Alexander Luck has just parked it. What a shame for the Brit. So that clears the DG flag as Alexander Luck pits it. And, Felix Vargier has just gone up the inside of Arthur Horsch for the lead of the race. Nice work by the 307. And Koya in the 320 is actually keeping pace with them as well. Fastest lap of the race so far is from Felix Vargier with a 55.171. 55.286 last time around for Arthur Horsch, with Christian Koya from the Netherlands around about 1/100th of a second adrift off of the 370, who's now in second position. Behind them, you've got Danny Kreuz battling with Fabian Bock, Anthony Overbeek, Felix Jansson, Luca Den Hartog. But Antoine Antier is on the move and is up into 9th place already. Drivers in the provisional stage of elimination from the rest of the running today. So Antier now takes over 8th from Den Hartog from the Netherlands. That's a big coup for the Frenchman. So Arthur Horsch in second, behind Belgium's Felix Vargier. Koya, Kreuz, Bock, Overbeek, Jansson and Antier are now your top 8. All results are provisional, following full ratification. So Vargier from Belgium in the 307, leading at the minute with 1 minute and 36 seconds on the clock, plus an additional lap to go. So I think it could be this and maybe 2 more additional laps. So if they're running at the 55.1s, well, one driver's just gone sub 55. Fabian Bock from Germany, 54.970. The German's now up into 4th place, 1 ahead of Danny Kreuz from the Netherlands in the 338. So the gap between the top 3 last time around was just over 5.5 tenths of a second. Fabian Bock is a further second adrift. Then it's a further 0.45 to Fabian Bock. Then it's a further 3 tenths to Danny Kreuz before Anthony Overbeek is a further 10.5 or so ahead. Behind Danny Kreuz. Felix Jansson is 1.7 seconds ahead of Antoine Antier, who, as long as he keeps ahead of Luca Den Hartog, which he's done to the tune of about, well, he doesn't need to worry about now, because Vincent van Kerkhoven has now taken 9th position from the Dutch driver in the number 360, as the time is now going to expire as the leaders head towards... now was that a change? Have we had a change there? Yes, we have, because Christian Koya had just gotten past, I think that's Fabian Bock. So Bock had got up into 3rd, which would have put him on 31st position on the top 36 grid. But now Koya has just stolen that back with random abandon. So last lap board it is. Felix Vargier over 2.5 tenths of a second, well, fractionally over 2.5 tenths of a second ahead of Francis Arthur Horsch. Koya from the Netherlands rounds out the top 3. You're separated by just over 1.5 seconds. Then it's literally nip and tuck, I think, between 3rd and 4th. It was at the start-finish straight. It isn't now, because one of them decides to get a bit of a motor on and pulls away. But the 2 leaders, Felix Vargier from Belgium and Arthur Horsch, now coming through into the right-hander at turn number 10 for the final time. Through turn 11 they go, and then this nice sweeping right-hander at turn 12 before Felix Vargier makes a bit of a comeback. Whoa, Arthur Horsch is trying to say something about it and nearly pips the Belgian at the line. But Felix Vargier is your winner of the Senior Max second chance qualifying heat by 0.076 seconds. Ahead of Francis Arthur Roche, Fabien Bock rounds out the top 3, a further 1.479 seconds adrift. Christian Couillet would lose out to the German on the last lap by the tune of nearly 2.5 tenths of a second. Danny Kroes rounds out the top 5, ahead of Anthony Overbeek from the Netherlands, Felix Jansson from Sweden, and pending initial official confirmation, the last person to qualify will be the number 372 of Antoine Antier from France, having got past the likes of Den Hartog. Van Kerkhoffen was kept at bay with and ended up 9th ahead of Georgios Bersis, Den Hartog in 11th, Brent Verheyen in 12th, Marcus Radney in 13th, Victor Poulsen 14th, Pieter Jan Bollen and Clementine Benoit rounded out the top 16, with Alexander Luck having his race ended before it even started with a mechanical black flag when the lights went out, with Hayden Cater a non-starter. Right, without further ado, it's time to turn our attention back to DD2 and DD2 Masters, and your grid is as follows. Sander Schiblak and Jan Schwitter comprise the front row, ahead of Sebastian de Grond and Madeleine Radny. Dionysius Livris and Lasse Andreasen round out row number 3, ahead of David Remy and Steve Bull. Marcel Steinert and Karl Klevort, who got caught out by our chief scrutineer Paul Claassen this afternoon, nice one mate, is on pole position in the DD2 Masters class, but is 10th on the road. That is ahead of the DD2 Masters pairing of Michael Becker and Timo Haug on row number 6, 5:26 and 5:35. Patrick Weinstock and Jamie Billings round out the top 7 rows, ahead of Tamsin Germain, Daniel Yildiz from Germany, William van der Kaj down in 17th, Wout Antonissen in 18th, ahead of Jan Nigussens, who had to recover after a bit of a nasty spin at turn 6. Whether that was related to contact, I'm not sure, and I'm not going to second guess. Christoph Adams rounds out the top 20, ahead of Wout Coulson, Christoph Linjen, Fritz Vensen, Alexander Derlinger, Konrad Bayer, Roland Kinch and Ronald Billings. So in this particular encounter it will be 13 minutes plus 1 additional lap to conclude the DD2 and the DD2 Masters action here today at the home of champions Karting Genk. And now it's time for the drivers to get into the 2x2 rolling start formation lineup. So 27 DD2 and DD2 Masters drivers ready to get into battle here. The time is set at 13 minutes plus 1 additional lap. The red lights are ready on the starting gantry. Will we get the green light first time around? The drivers now head into the tram lines. Could this be a green light? Yes, it is! And they head down into turn 1. Schiblak closely followed by, well, looks like Dionysius Livris has just got past Madeleine Radny, who's dropped down to 5th place as, oh no, madness at the back. Conrad Byers just had to try and avoid and has accidentally someone clearly not a happy chappy, did not want that to happen and has just punched the steering wheel into oblivion, I think, on the right hand side. So there has been a few altercations, not what we wanted to see, but when it gets to the very first lap, you don't know what's going to happen, and if something does happen, it happens pretty quickly, and that's very true. So Schiblak leads from Schwitter, de Grond, Livris and Radny. That is your top 5 at the minute. Lasse Andreasen from Denmark is in 6th position. Remy in 7th, ahead of Steve Bull from the UK, who's just got past Marcel Steiner. Looks like Karl Klevort's regained 10th position overall, and also the class lead in DD2 Masters from Michael Becker. Both Patrick Weinstock and Tamsin Germain have made it up a couple of places each, 12th and 13th respectively. Timo Haug now in 14th, ahead of Jamie Billings. So I'm wondering if that was Wout Antonissen that was punching the steering wheel quite feverishly there, as someone goes a bit wide coming into turn 10. Looks to be the 413 of Marcel Steinert, I believe, a little bit twitchy. And probably the left rear tyre probably maybe started, as Madeleine Radny's just lost out again to Lasse Andreasen, I believe. That is the case, so the young Swede now down into effectively 6th position. William van der Kaj and Jan Nigussens have made some inroads. Van der Kaj up to 16th, Jan Nigussens in 17th, having started 19th. And it's getting very close at the top 4 now. Schiblak not having it all his own way. with Jan Schwitter from FM Racing, Sebastian de Grande, and also Dionysius Livris, who are from Dames Racing Team. And you've got the 409 of Lasse Andreasen, and also Madeleine Radney not too far behind. Steve Bull, still in 8th, but Carl Clairvaux, the fastest baker of the land, is definitely on a charge. He's got up to 9th place, ahead of Marcel Steinert. Patrick Weinstock has got past Michael Becker for 11th position. Janne Gussens now up into 16th place. But all 27 drivers still continuing to circulate. Roland Kinch has got up to 24th in the 557. Ahead of, and it looks like, Konrad Bayer, 25th. Daniel Yildish, 26th. And Anthonyson last but by no means least in 27th position. Now, Schirlach had a bit of an extensive lead last time out, but this time around, his gap between himself and Schwitter has been an equilateral distance, around about 0.3 of a second over the last 3 or 4 laps. But then you've got the likes of de Grande, Livris, Andresen, Radney, Remy. Steve Bull is on a bit of a charge as well, has just taken 0.12 of a second out of David Remy. Madeleine Radney was a bit slower in front of the pair of them. She did a 54.996, whereas Remy did a 54.749. Steve Bull did a 54.627. Zander Schirlach is leading and also has the fastest lap to his credit, and was only 0.013 of a second quicker on that last lap than Jan Schwitter, who also posted his best lap of this race. 8 minutes and 23 on the clock to go, still battling up at the front there, and that is a kart train of 8 karts. But it looks like that Zander Schirlach is trying to get away from Jan Schwitter from Switzerland. He's running on the OTK chassis with FM Racing. Dionysius Livris is quite pretty much there. He was a quarter of a second adrift, but doesn't look like that now. He's actually closing. He's about within a kart length of Jan Schwitter. So Schwitter now has to be on the defensive. He can't go after Schirlach. He needs to start defending against Dionysius Livris. But then you've also got the likes, so if they start battling, this is going to bring into play Sebastian de Grande, Lasse Andreasen, and also Madeleine Radney, as Steve Bull goes up the inside very cleanly of David Remy for position. Good job by the 430 from the UK. That was a mega overtake, and he took over nearly 3.5 tenths out of David Remy on that last lap alone. And this battle is getting to a fever pitch high as we hit 7 minutes plus an additional lap remaining in this last race of the DD2 and the DD2 Masters classes at the moment. Give you some top 5 updates. Schirlach leads DD2 ahead of Schwitter, Livris, de Grande and Andreasen. Meanwhile in DD2 Masters, Karl Clairvaux leads the class in 9th overall, ahead of Patrick Weinstock from Germany in 11th overall. Michael Becker and Tamsin Germain round out the top 4 from 10th to 13th place. 11th to 13th respectively. Next up will be Timo Haug from Germany in the number 535 down in 17th place. So those are your top 5 runners in each of the classes. And the move has happened that Dionysius Livris is past Jan Schwitter. It was only a matter of time before the Greek mounted an attack on the Swiss driver and finally found that gap that he was looking for and pounced without hesitation, and it looks like possibly without any retaliation. But this is going to give Jan Schwitter the opportunity to claw back that momentum back into his favour, regain second place. He knows that, well, I can't catch Zander, but if I can get past Dionysius, I'll have a chance of keeping second. But there might be some people that might have something to say about that, as Madeleine Radny is dropping. She's now back down behind David Remy and Steve Bull, who are now 6th and 7th respectively. So Madeleine's race is going a little bit backwards, but she has been pretty competitive in terms of the lap times, but she's not running that great at the moment. I think the drivers that I see at the minute in DD2 that are suffering a little bit with their lap times, Madeleine is one of them. She's just done a 55.4 on that last lap, with David Remy and Steve Bull both on a 54.9. So we have Fritz Wernsen, Roland Kinch and Konrad Bayer, unfortunately 3 retirees. So that decimates the field ever so slightly to 24. Oh, little bump from behind, as that was Dionysius Liberis literally ploughing into the back bumper of Jan Schwitter going through turn 3. So Schwitter got the move done back on the Greek, returned the favour, and I don't know whether it just caught Liberis out if he thought, well, Schwitter's there, and he's gone, oh dear, I need to brake, and it's probably been too late for that to happen. Could it have been a racing incident? Well, it's 1 of one and 500 of another, but that's not down for me to decide. It's something that definitely catches not just my attention in the commentary box, but probably the driver that it's affected, because that's dropped Jan Schwitter back down into 3rd place and into the clutches. Well, actually, it was in the clutches. It isn't now, because it's Lasse Andreasen who's just got past. Here's Sebastian de Grand, I think, also getting in on the mix. So, no, Sebastian de Grand did not get past, but watch out behind, gents, because you've got David Remy and Steve Bull behind you. That's going to be incredibly interesting as we get into the last 3.5 minutes, plus 1 additional lap in this DD2 and DD2 Masters second race of the weekend, and the final one of the day today. So running order with 3 minutes and 9 to go on the clock. I'll try and keep you updated on any positional changes as they happen or as and when I see them. So it is Triblak leading from Dionysius Liberis, Lasse Andreasen, Jan Schwitter. And that's David Remy now up into 5th ahead of Steve Bull. Sebastian de Grand and Madeleine Radny now in 7th and 8th. Marcel Steinert has got past Karl Kleebort, who continues to lead the DD2 Masters classification in this race. Jan Negusens is absolutely flying. The Belgian's just done a 54.538, and that is 7/10 quicker than Karl Kleebort. I don't know if that's going to be enough to try and claw into that gap between the pair, which is 2.75 seconds. Michael Becker, second in DD2 classification, ahead in 12th place overall, ahead of Patrick Weinstock. Tamsin Germain, who, along with Jamie Billings, sees 2 Brits round at the top 15 overall. William van der Kaj in 16th, ahead of 5th place DD2 Masters in terms of positioning, not in terms of the overall result, is in 17th, but is in 5th in the classification for DD2 Masters. Wout Poulsen, Timo Haug, Christoph Leinen, Ronald Billings, Alexander Dullinger, Wout Antonijssen still running, with Tanja Yildiz still circulating. So 3 drivers retired, that's Vansen, Kinch and Bayer. So we come down to the last 90 seconds, plus 1 additional lap. Triblak is leading by a cool and comfortable 2.2 seconds. And he's also still got the fastest lap to his credit, with 54.177. As who's that pulling to one side? That's the 4.42 of Jamie Billings there. So Jamie Billings, now, was there an issue, or did he just decide to let somebody pass? I'm not too sure. One of them might have been William van der Kaj. Then you also have Christoph Adams in the treble 5. Timo Haug, in the meantime, has dropped all the way down into 20th overall. Well, actually, I don't know if he's even taking any further part. The 535 might have parked it. I think that might be the case, as the leader comes round. Zander Schiblak from Bouvin Power, representing Belgium in 412, continues to lead. 2.3 seconds between him and Dionysius Liveris from Greece. Lasse Andreasen from Denmark ahead of Jan Schwitter, David Remy, Steve Bull, which puts 6 different nationalities in the top 6 overall in this race. So it's going to be this plus one more lap to go in the DD2, in the DD2 Masters second final. They'll also have 2 races tomorrow, as the likes like the Micromax, Minimax, and the OK and the OK Junior categories this weekend. So, last lap board being prepared on the start-finish line. And it's just corners personified from Zander Schiblak, who just punches the throttle, gets away from everybody, as Dionysius Liveris is trying to fend off Lasse Andreasen, I believe, for what is effectively second place. But these two are teammates, I understand. But they're going to have to watch out, because clawing onto the back bumper of Jan Schwitter is David Remy in the 455. So Remy having a good show and a good turn of pace. Jan Schwitter went to the outside of Lasse Andreasen, trying to go through into turn 7 to get the cut back, but it hasn't worked out for the Swiss driver, who's now got Remy breathing down his neck, or race overalls. But when it was all said and done, Zander Schiblak continues his good run of form in the BNL Karting Series as he takes another win ahead of Dionysius Liveris from Greece. Lasse Andreasen takes third ahead of Jan Schwitter, and David Remy rounding out the top 5. Steve Bull made it 6 different nationalities in the top 6 ahead of Madeleine Radnit, who got in front of Sebastian de Grand at the end. Marcel Steinert took 9th ahead of DD2 Masters class winner Karl Klerbot in the 510. Jan Negussens recovered from 19th all the way up to 11th, so hopefully that will give him a bit more motivation to push even harder tomorrow. Michael Becker completes the top 2 in DD2 Masters classification, finishing 12th, ahead of his fellow DD2 Masters competitors, Patrick Weinstock from Germany in 13th, Tamsin Germain from the United Kingdom in 14th, with the Netherlands' very own William van der Kaj in the 404, rounding out the top 15. Christoph Adams completed the DD2 Masters top 5 in 16th, with Wood Coulson, Jamie Billings, Christoph Linjen, Roland Billings, Walt Antonijssen, the man who likes to thwack his steering wheel, with Tanja Yildiz and Alexander Derlinger being the last of the classified finishers, with Timo Haug, Fritz Vansen, Roland Kinch and Konrad Bayer not finishing the race. Our man in the pits, Ben van der Stucken. For those watching on the live stream, you'll be able to listen back to all these interviews. But we've got 3 more races to go. It's the last race of the day for the OK and the OK Juniors, and the lineup is as follows. Chapard is on the front row alongside Eva Mallet, and Nicolas Picot and Thomas Imburg round out a clean sweep of the front 2 rows for France. Also, Alexander Tauscher, Olivier Goethe, Giuliano Hossum, Matthias Salonen, Ries Viveret, Corey Powles rounds out the top 10. Sandro Holsum, Enzo Peugeot, who's pole sitter for the OK Junior category, starts in 12th ahead of Daniel Greger from Germany. Thomas Zahn in 14th ahead of Loris Delbard. Jan-Peter Fritters, Jules Castro, Maxime Fouan-Castellin. I'm not too sure if his kart is... he's not showing up as a green light on my timing screen. Lars van Vark, who had that coming together and was not best pleased in the first final, will start 19th. Mads Ries and Loris Cabirou will also be at the tail end of the field. So it's just about a case of finding out what's going to happen here. Are we going to have a clean sweep of the top 4 by the French this afternoon for a second successive time? We're about to find out. 13 minutes on the timer. Gents, on your marks. Get set. Do we go green? Yes, we do. And I had to hold my breath there. I saw it go 3 wide, heading into turn 1. Multiple drivers needing to exercise some caution. And Maxime Fouan-Castellin getting stuck in, trying to go around the outside of somebody else round turn 4 with Jules Castro behind. Now they need to watch out because they were called into the stewards a bit earlier on. So Maxime Fouan-Castellin will want to keep as much distance between himself and the GKS Lemons Power driver in the number 106. But let's see what keeps on happening at the front of the field. Thomas Zahn has just got past Enzo Peugeot. So we could be seeing some further moves up the field as just saw something happen through turn 10. So maybe there was a bit of avoiding action because right at the back part of the field is that Jules Castro. That is. And ahead will probably be Maxime Fouan-Castellin because I'm just trying to keep an eye out for people's respective liveries. I mean, GKS Lemons Power, you can't not miss that. But yes, it is Maxime Fouan-Castellin who is about 3 or 4 car lengths ahead. But meanwhile, at the front, or a little bit further forward, just keeping an eye on what's happening a little bit further down the field, the 269 of Evan Mallet is now, I think that's yes, because Nicolas Picot has just got past him for second position. So Chapard leads, having taken the win in the first one. Enzo Peugeot will look to continue the 100% winning streak in OK Junior. But 11 minutes, 8 seconds on the clock remaining. Corey Powles now up into 9th. Evan Mallet now down into 4th position. Amborg now up into 3rd, past the 269. Vivret from Belgium now up into 7th position. Sandro Holsum, Lars van Vark, Loris Cabirou have also been making inroads in the rest of the opposition. Mads Ries has now climbed up to 17th, and that puts him behind the OK Junior number 175 of Team 75's Daniel Greger. And looks like there was another move there, this time by Loris Cabirou, probably on Lars van Vark. But it is still a quartet of French musketeers at the front of the field, but there's a couple of drivers that might have something to say about it, and those two are battling between themselves at the minute. That's Alexander Tauscher from Germany and Ries Viveret from Belgium battling over 5th position. Nice work by Corby Powles. Great manoeuvring there. Flew past the 271 of Matthias Salonen. And I think with Corby, went Olivier Goethe from Monaco. That's a brilliant move by the runner-up in last year's FIA Academy Trophy. And when I spoke to him earlier, he's looking forward to working alongside an OK world champion in the form of Italy's Lorenzo Travisanuto at CV Performance Group this season. And that's why I understand completely the decision that Kobe made to stay in OK and not do a dual campaign, unlike Mads Ries, who currently at the moment is still in 16th position. Loris Cabihor in the meantime has got up to 14th. Lars van Vark now hits the top 10. Ries Viveret has got past Alexander Tauscher from Germany for that coveted 5th position. He's about 6.5 tenths behind Yvon Mallet. So could the Belgian throw a cat amongst the pigeons with the top 4 French drivers? There is a possibility. He might not be able to go for the top 3, but there's still 8 minutes and 43 seconds plus an additional lap, so what the heck do I know? But it's really good to see how this new category in OK and OK Juniors bring in a new life, a new sense of energy, and a new dynamic to the BNL. And it's something that I really enjoy. A very different noise to the Rotax roar that I normally hear at BNL and the Rotax Max Euro Trophy. But I tell you what, this is definitely a welcome one, I must say. Chappal now extends his lead over Nicolas Pico to just over 3/4 of a second. But Thomas Amborg is threatening the number 233 and is within about 2.5, maybe 3 kart lengths. Behind him, Yvon Mallet has got a bit of a gap between himself and Ries Viveret, who's closed the gap to under 6 tenths. Then we've got the 213 of Alexander Tauscher, who I think is going to find himself being caught by Kobe Pauls. Pauls nearly took a tenth out of him on the last tour. And Pauls took nearly 2 tenths out of Alexander Tauscher that time around. Gap now down to 0.8 between 6th and 7th position. So Kobe Pauls is moving forward at more than just a canter. I think he's gone into full gout mode here. Mads Ries up into 14th, Sandro Holsum up into 15th, Jan-Peter Fritzers down in 16th, but Enzo Peugeot is not leading the OK Junior class anymore. It is now Germany's Daniel Greger from Junior Team 75, and he's got a gap of about 1 second between himself and the Frenchman on the 108. 6 minutes 45 to go. Chappard's gap now is 0.87 over Nicolas Pico. Amborg is about a further 2 tenths of a second adrift. Then it's a further 2.2 seconds to Yvon Mallet, who has got a very fast closing. Ries Viveret from Belgium, hot on his heels, trying to take away one of the top 4 positions, as Castro is absolutely fighting in the back part of the field with Enzo Peugeot, Lois Delbart and Maxime Faure, and Castellan has got about a gap of half a second between himself and the 106, but Maxime Faure and Castellan, who won the OK Junior kickoff category 4 weeks ago, now finds himself in 2nd position, and what's more, he is closing on Daniel Greger to the tune of about 2.5 tenths a second a lap. He's just put in a 54.234, Daniel Greger, a 54.5, so the German's staying relatively consistent, but Castellan, I think, wants that class win. Him and Castro, I don't think, are seeing eye to eye. There were a few conversations in the steward's office when I was sort of out on a break a bit earlier on, and I could definitely see that he was not a happy young Luxembourger, that's for sure. However, getting back to the action as it stands, Kobe Pauls didn't go any faster than Alexander Tauscher that time around, but the gap between them is around 6 to 6.5 tenths. Meanwhile, Yvon Mallet is being chased, and the person doing the chasing is clearly Ries Viveret. Less than 3 tenths between the pair. Mallet takes a glance over the right shoulder and goes, oh dear, I need to hurry up, I need to keep him away. Well, Ries is going to have something to say about that, Evan, so you better watch out, because now, through turn 4, through turn 5, Viveret has the run and goes up the inside cleanly on Mallet, who switches back and retakes 4th position. That was a very, very quick, clean and fair exchange between the pair as they go through turn number 7. 4 minutes and 25 on the clock remaining, plus 1 additional lap. And at the minute, the gap between Daniel Greger and Maxime Fouhon-Castellan for the lead of OK Junior is around half a second to 6/10. So let's just see what transpires with our leaders. So the lead now between Frank Chapard and Nicolas Picot is now 1.26 seconds. Brice Vivrette has actually dropped from Evan Mallet to the tune of, it was about 1/10 of a second between the two last time around. It's now dropped to 0.7 because Vivrette, I think, trying to get past Mallet, compromised his lap time, and then all that did was it gave Mallet a 6/10 of a second advantage to swing the pendulum back in his favour. 3 minutes 30 on the clock remaining, plus 1 additional lap. Picot has now got Imborg incoming for that second position. Corbett Pauwels isn't out of the woods. He's still in 8th position. He's behind Lars van Vaart by about half a second, with Olivier Goethe from Monaco about 2/10 of a second behind. But the battle that I'm really keeping my eyes on, there's two in particular. Daniel Greger and Maxime Fouhon-Castellan for the lead of OK Junior and potentially the victory. And then the second place battle between... Oh, it's happened! It's happened! Where did that come from Imborg? He went incoming. He sailed right past Nicolas Picot. Looks like, was it round the outside of turn 6? If he did that, that was an absolutely outrageous manoeuvre. Call it what you will, but that was absolute banzai and reckless abandon, and he thought, I've got him, I'm going to go around the outside, and he went for it, and he got it. Nice work, Thomas Imborg on the 2-2-3, which relegates Nicolas Picot down into 3rd position. Frank Chapard, in the meantime, extending the lead to now 1.9 seconds, with 2 minutes and 15 on the clock, plus an additional lap. The gap is decreasing between Greger and Fouhon-Castellan for the lead in OK Junior, but it is still 0.47 between the pair. Greger's in 17th, Maxime Fouhon-Castellan better watch out, because hard on his heels is the French driver by the name of Vincent Peugeot on the 108, who's about 2/10 of a second adrift, and it's just under 54.3 is his best lap. Last time around, Enzo Peugeot did a 54.356. Maxime Fouhon-Castellan did a 54.313. Daniel Greger, in the meantime, set his best lap of the race on a 54.548. And the fastest lap of this race overall in terms of the drivers is the driver in position number 7, Lars van Vaart from the Netherlands, fully charged and fired up, and is throwing everything at it. And he's got past Alexander Tauscher in the process. What a job by the Dutchman on the 201 with TB Racing. He's come firing on all of the engine power behind him, and also all of the amount of grip that these Apex Vega tyres can give him as well. Gap has... Well, there's been a major development in OK Junior. What has happened to Maxime Fouhon-Castellan? He's now... Well, he's got past... Well, Daniel Greger's dropped to 3rd in OK Junior. Enzo Peugeot and Maxime Fouhon-Castellan have now overtaken the German, so the Luxembourger now is in prime position with around 36 seconds on the clock plus an additional lap to take his first OK season victory. Never mind the kickoff here in the BNL Karting Series in 2019. Frank Chapard's gap over Thomas Imborg is now 2.37 seconds. And Lars van Vaart is closing on Brice Vivrette and Evan Mallet, who are battling between themselves over 4th position. Oh, this is getting very close. A little bit of contact between the two. Left front tyre. Oh, and that's caught. Mallet has been compromised, or he just missed the braking point completely, because through have gone Brice Vivrette and also the number 201 of Lars van Vaart. That's the rounding up of the top 5. So Evan Mallet now drops into 6th position. So the cat has been thrown amongst the pigeons, and it's quite clearly worked, because Mallet seemed to be a bit unsettled at that point. But it's the final lap, and at the moment Frank Chappard is 2.5 seconds ahead of Thomas Ingborg, who will now have a bit of a gap between himself and Nicolas Pico to the tune of about 1 point, well, I think that's probably 0.8 of a second. And it's a further 1.1 or 1.3 for that. Well, hang on, Vivaret is about 1.8, 1.9 behind Nicolas Pico. Then it's a further 0.6 to Lars van Vark. Evan Merlier, 3.5 of a second adrift. But let's see where our leader is. Here he comes. Nice work from lights out to checkered flag. It's been a clean sweep for France's Frank Chappard on the 2:34 that wins the second OK race of the season and also of the weekend as well. Ahead of Thomas Ingborg, who snatched it away from Nicolas Pico. Rhys Vivaret and Lars van Vark finished ahead of the number 269 of Evan Merlier from France. Alexander Tauscher, Oliver Goethe, Corby Pauls and Matthias Salonen rounded out the top 10 in terms of the OK category. But it was Maxime Fouron-Castellin from Luxembourg in the 1:36 that takes the class win in OK Junior, ahead of race 1 winner Enzo Peugeot, with Lois Delbar, Daniel Greger, and a very forlorn, I might add, Jules Castro, rounding out the 5 strong that competed. All 21 competitors finished the race, and rounding out the rest of the OK contingent from 11th onwards, Loris Cabirou came back fighting, as did Mads Ries, to complete the race in 11th and 12th respectively. Tom Mouzin finished in 13th, ahead of the German pairing of Sandro Holsum and Giuliano Holsum in the 2:98 and the 2:08, with Jan-Peter Fritters being the last of the classified OK senior drivers here. So Chappard wins by 2.63 seconds ahead of Thomas Ingborg, with Nicolas Pico making it a clean top 3 sweep for France and for VDK Racing. So Thomas Imborg from OK has been given a 5-second penalty post-race for a front fairing infraction, as I've just been informed by the official timekeeping that we have through motorsport-events.se. Merci beaucoup Ben, merci beaucoup Maxime et félicitations. Right, Junior Max final top 36 in prospect. Here is a grid order for 18 rows, 36 drivers, all qualified through either the 3 qualifying heats or the second chance qualifying heat a little bit earlier on this afternoon. On the front row, it's Mike van Vught, the defending BNL Junior Max champion. Alongside him will be Dan Ginchard, runner-up in the BNL kickoff just 4 weeks ago. Ahead of a double Dutch delight on row number 2, Chris Harnan and Danny Van Dyke. Then it's Tom Adams and Jeff Machiels on row number 3. Matthew Higgins and Bart de Wit comprise row 4 in 275 and 226. Callum Boissin and Kai Helitz complete the top 10 in numbers 235 and 274, with Max Stemmerdink, Mylan Coppens, Will Jenkins, Oscar Christensen, Lucas Schoenmakers, Tom Heinertz, who needs to, I think, have a bit of a better result this time around, having been in the wars with Jeff Machiels a bit earlier on. Valentin Klus starts in 17th ahead of new Junior Max driver for 2019, Bruno Mulders in the 207. Maurice Schuring and Artem Mikhailov complete the top 20. Rasmus van Delvo, Summer Webb, Zen Rudenberg, Flint Schuring, Dan Zopfi, Rasmus Andersen, Gianni Andresani and Derek Janssen were the 28 that automatically qualified for this final. With the second chance heat we had the following drivers: Christian de Klein, who starts 29th, Daniel Sarankov in 30th, Sam Bergstein 31st, Lars Zane in 32nd, Patrick Knowles Lokmelis in 33rd, Janos Zopfi, Jaroslav Zimaska and Alexander Abskava, rounding out the 36 strong. Hold on to your hats, grab a hold of something, or if you're sitting comfortably at home, get some popcorn. This is one you're not going to want to miss. It's Van Vught from the Netherlands on pole position. Alongside him on the front row, one of the many Brits in this category, Daniel Ginchard on the Ralf Schumacher chassis. This is going to be a belter. 13 minutes on the clock, red lights on the starting gantry. Do we go green? No. Full start call. Full start call. I would agree with that wholeheartedly. Not everyone was in position, and the race director has the right to say, no, it's not going to happen. That's our 4th full start today, I believe. Or someone might have to correct me if I'm wrong. For those wanting to know, we do actually now have a Twitter account of the BNL Karting Series. Twitter.com/KartingBNL. Thank you very much to everyone that's started to follow us and start retweeting us, including Bradley Barrett, who should be here. What are you doing? Well, you're studying at the moment, according to your Instagram profile. But we are on Twitter now. Of course, we are on Instagram at BMC_BNL. Or you can also head to BNLKartingSeries.com for our official website, updated on a regular basis. So now it's time for take number 2 for the top 36 final for the Junior Max division here at the 1,360 metre layout at Karting Genk, the home of champions. Could we see some of these young Junior Max drivers in the higher echelons of motorsport? I definitely know there are quite a few that could very well make it, and 2 of them are sitting on the front row. One of them, if you're looking on the screen, is on your left. The 201, a three-time champion from last season alone, BNL, Chrono, and Euro Trophy, Mike Van Vugt. But Dan Ginchard, I have seen him prove himself time and time again. Now we see what happens when they go into the tram lines. Red lights, 13 minutes to go. We go lights out. And Ginchard tries to muscle. Whoa! Was that Danny Van Dyke again? You absolute charlatan. And he's nearly overtaken. He's gone past Chris Harnan, Dan Ginchard, and he nearly took Mike Van Vugt in 2 corners. That's impressive. He did that in the kickoff. He's done that to absolute perfection. Once again, has the number 256. And Ginchard's now dropped down into 5th position. But there is still quite a lot of time. Still around about 12 minutes and 23 on the clock remaining. So at the moment, everyone is still circulating. All 36 drivers are making moves. Tom Heinert's up to 15th. Oscar Christensen, 13th. Kai Grilletz gets past Callum Voisin for 9th. So Van Vugt leads by just over half a second from Danny Van Dyke. Chris Harnan makes it a triple build for the Netherlands on the top 3. Jeff Machiels then comes through for Belgium in 4th, ahead of Jeff Machiels, and then it's a trio of Brits led by Dan Ginchard, followed by Tom Adams and Matthew Higgins, with Oscar Christensen for Denmark in 8th. Kai Grilletz again representing Belgium in the 274, and then it's another Brit. That makes it 4 in the top 10 for Callum Voisin in the number 235, but Van Vugt is trying to get away from Danny Van Dyke, but will Van Dyke have something to say about it? It's early days, there's still a lot to play for. You can't factor out the likes of Chris Harnan, Jeff Machiels, Daniel Ginchard, Matthew Higgins. Watch out even for Kai Grilletz. This kid he's gone into a new level now. He's changed teams for 2019. He's headed on the CRG chassis. I spoke with him at the kickoff. He's a lot happier than what he was, maybe say, halfway through the season. He had a dismal time at the BNL Rotax Golden Trophy. The kickoff didn't go as planned, having retired on one of the races, but he is now fighting in the top 10. That shows how much this youngster from Belgium has improved and has also taken on board the feedback that the team are giving him on a regular basis. But at the front of the field, it is still Van Vugt from JJ Racing on the 201. I asked him what number he was going to be racing in the Euro Trophy. I'm going to have to check the Rotax Racing app, available free on iTunes and Google Play, as there's a very battered 231 of Drake Janssen. The left side pod doesn't looks like it's seen better days. So, and Chris Harnan's just overtaken Danny Van Dyke and also overtakes Mike Van Vugt to take the lead of this race. What a great job from the 264 from the Netherlands. It's still 3 from the 3 Dutch drivers, and Van Vugt loses out again. It's not to just Van Dyke, it's not to just Ginchard, it's not just... Oh my goodness me, that's an absolute disaster for Mike Van Vugt. So he's lost out to the following people: Chris Harnan, Danny Van Dyke, Jeff Machiels, Daniel Ginchard, who's just gone into 3rd past Machiels, and then also Tom Adams, and I think Matthew Higgins is in front of the 201. Yes, he is. And behind them is both Oscar Christensen, who's got Kai Grilletz very much on his back bumper. Nice work, Kai. Great move up the inside of Oscar going into turn 12, but the Dane strikes back immediately. Grilletz has the toe, pulls out of the slipstream, nearly side by side, darts back in, and then recomposes and retakes that position. That's 8th for the Belgian, and just muscles his way through, shuts the door in the Dane's face and says, "Here, mate, have some of that." Well done, Kai. But meanwhile, at the front of the field, it is a 7-cart train, even though people might say, why are you saying 7-cart train? Because the thing is, the gaps are not respective of what these drivers are capable of. And if they keep on battling as they are, Kai Hillertz and Oscar Christensen will be in the mix, quite clearly. We have 8.5 minutes plus an additional lap to go. So already Van Vugt is on the back foot, having to reassert himself, and he is closing on Tom Adams. So he's going to have to wait to get towards turns 1 and 2. Gets his head down, gets the toe, pulls out of the slipstream very, very quickly there. Gets his way past the 2:17 from the UK. Nice work, Mike Van Vugt, up into 6th position. And next up he'll have Matthew Higgins. Rasmus Vendelbo, in the meantime, has gone down the order. Daniel Surankov is down in 36th. Vendelbo now 27th. Other drivers that have made moves up despite having dropped down the order, as there's been another move. Danny Van Dijk has just lost 2 positions as Dan Ginchard hits the front. That's it. Ginchard's now in the lead in the 254. Chris Harnan in 2nd. Jeff Machiels up into 3rd. And in front of, behind them, who was originally in front, was Danny Van Dijk in the 256. And then Van Vugt is absolutely flying. He goes up the inside of his countryman into turn 12. And look who's behind. That is that Matthew Higgins? That is who's closing on the back bumper of Van Vugt. And is there going to be a possibility of more places being lost? Kai Hillertz is absolutely threatening on the back bumper of Danny Van Dijk right now. The 274 on the CRG chassis has come alive this very afternoon, despite a few trials and tribulations. Is he going to pull alongside? No, he's in the tow of Danny Van Dijk heading into turn 7. But he's still got 6 minutes and 50 plus an additional lap as Chris Harnan is fending off Jeff Machiels. But they've got to watch out. If they keep on battling, Van Vugt is going to close on them. And he's just done a 56.9 as Van Vugt. Mylan Coppens, in the meantime, in 10th position, has set the fastest lap of anybody out of the whole 36 drivers, the driver grid here. So Ginchard leads. Harnan and Machiels are... Whoa! Harnan through that, quite literally past Dan Ginchard. Machiels tries to go past and gets pushed out wide as Ginchard goes back into 2nd. Van Vugt strikes and Jeff Machiels gets doesn't really get nerfed. I think he just got pushed wide there. All 4 wheels off the grass. Excuse me. And this has allowed Danny Van Dijk and Kai Hillertz now into 7th position. So 6th and 7th for the young Dutch and Belgian drivers respectively. And there's going to be more dramas, I think, for Jeff Machiels. He's coming under extreme pressure. Next driver will be Nolan Coppens, as Van Vugt sets the fastest lap of anybody and has got past... Yes, he has got past Dan Ginchard. So it's now Chris Harnan, Mike Van Vugt, Dan Ginchard. That'll be, I think, Chris Harnan behind. No, that's Matt Higgins. So Chris Harnan is leading. Mike Van Vugt in 2nd. Matthew Higgins now up into 3rd past Dan Ginchard. 4th is Tom Adams. 5th. And then you've got... Mylan Coppens has just got past Kai Hillertz a bit too easy there. But I think Kai's just having to get used to this new chassis. Because the other one was a bit... more than just a bit damaged, unfortunately, last time out of the kickoff. But he's kept himself out of trouble. That's one of the key consistencies for a campaign. You have to be consistent. You also have to keep yourself out of trouble. And Kai is doing a really good job of that at the moment, as Van Vugt is closing on Chris Harnan for the lead. But Van Vugt is not going to have it all his own way, with Matthew Higgins in 3rd. Van Vugt goes up the inside of Chris Harnan, retakes the position. Matthew Higgins has a little bit of a touch with the back bumper of Van Vugt trying to go up the inside of Chris Harnan. Ginchard is there. Adams is there. And Mylan Coppens has also got past Danny Van Dijk. So Mylan Coppens on an absolute flyer. 56.319 from the Dutch driver. Fastest lap of anybody. And is quite literally tearing the grid asunder. What a job from the 244. That's 6th position. And is he going to start closing up on the drivers in front? Well, there's a very good possibility. He's got 3 3/4 minutes to do so, plus 1 additional lap. And if the quintet up front keep on battling, I think Milan Coppens might have a sniff at it. Well, more than just a sniff, I think he'll probably go for it. But in the meantime, the lead is still in the hands of now Mike van Vugt, who's taken that from Chris Harnen. Higgins tries to go up the inside of Harnen, but Ginchard responds and pays the favour from earlier on in this race and says, no, I'm getting third. So Higgins drops to fourth ahead of Tom Adams. Milan Coppens is closing. Danny Van Dijk is as well. Then Kai Heelerts and Jeff Machiels. So Machiels coming back after that off-track excursion off of the exit of turn number 4, which saw him plant all 4 wheels off the grass whilst battling with Mike van Vugt. So, still plenty of time left to go. We've got about 2 minutes and 44 seconds plus an additional lap to go. Still action-packed at the front of the field. And it is happening. Milan Coppens goes up the inside of Tom Adams to take 5th from the Brit. And Adams is in the slipstream. Won't have a chance of getting past, whereas Ginchard is looking very racy behind Chris Harnen for 2nd position. And if you were to ask me how this race is going to unfold, I'm going to say just point your eyes at the screen and just watch. Believe you me, because that's what I'm doing. I'm looking at screens, I'm looking outside of windows. And it's just absolutely brilliant what's been happening here. This is a fantastic battle between not just the quintet, the sextet, maybe the septuplet, if you want to start quoting how many times I can say the word 7 or 6 in different vernaculars. And that's pretty good vocabulary for a Saturday afternoon. So, 1 minute 40 plus an additional lap to go. Mike van Vugt continues to lead ahead of Chris Harnen from the Netherlands. Daniel Ginchard in 3rd position, who flies past the number 264 to take back 2nd. Meanwhile, behind, Matt Higgins has just lost out to Milan Coppens, who now has been flying again, and he flies up past the Brit into 4th position, going through turn number 3. Nice work by the 344, but he's not done yet. I think he can see who's in front of him, and who has he got? Well, he's got the likes of Dan Ginchard in the 254, then Chris Harnen in the 264. This is going to be absolutely brilliant all the way through. And if you look at the train behind Mike van Vugt, there are 8 carts, which has Jeff Machiels at the back end of that. Kai Heelerts still sitting pretty in 8th, but could still steal a march on Danny Van Dijk. But we've got 39 seconds plus an additional lap to go in this top 36 final for the Junior Max division. Oh, there we go. Milan Coppens gets past. So does Matt Higgins on Dan Ginchard. Now the floodgates could proverbially open, but Ginchard's really got to be aware of what's going on around him, what's behind him in particular, because he can't attack now. It's about defending that position. He did that in one of the qualifying heats earlier and managed to hold on to 2nd place, where the rest of the field behind him was swamping all over each other, and it could be a repeat of that now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's out. Time's expired. It's going to be this plus an additional lap. So the next time Mike van Vugt crosses the start-finish line, it's one more lap for the youngster from Voxham in the Netherlands. Just 14 years of age as, oh my goodness, he's at it again! Milan Coppens is Mr. Opportunistic, and he's got past Matt Higgins. That puts the 244 into 3rd place. Oh, gets a nice little bump from behind from the number 275 as Kai Heelerts gets swamped. Whoa, Jeff Machiels, nice move. That was round the outside of Kai Heelerts around turn 4. So Jeff Machiels has obviously taken a playbook or page out of the playbook of Lewis Gilbert, who's done that exact same move. Leaders coming through turn 8 for the final time. So both Mike van Vugt and Chris Harnen have got away from everybody. Milan Coppens is the one at the front of that train. And Danny Van Dijk is trying his utmost to get past Jeff Machiels. We're coming into the final couple of corners of this race. And Coppens swaps positions with Matt Higgins to stay in 3rd at the minute. But ladies and gentlemen, to conclude the Junior Max action, the checkered flag's going to wave for the Netherlands' very own Mike van Vugt. Ahead of Chris Harnen. Matt Higgins steals it on the line. Steals it on the line from Milan Coppens. and Dan Ginchard. What a show of sportsmanship for our 1-2 double Dutch delight. Mike van Vugt and Chris Harnan shaking hands on the slowdown lap. That's what you call real racing. Great sportsmanship. Nice work, guys. So, let's run you through the final finishing order of the Junior Max Top 36 final here on the first day of competition for the 2019 BNL Karting Series season being held here at Home of Champions Karting Genk. Mike van Vugt leads a Dutch 1-2 ahead of countryman Chris Harnan with 201 and 264 taking the top honours. Matthew Higgins stole it on the line in the 275 from Milan Coppens, and Daniel Ginchard, who fought right up until the bitter end but could only come up fifth best ahead of countryman Tom Adams. Jeff Mahiels was 7th ahead of Danny van Dijk, with Max Stemmerdink and Kai Gielitz rounding out the top 10 ahead of Oscar Christensen, Will Jenkins, Lucas Schoenmakers, Callum Voisin, Tom Heinatz, Bart de Wit, Gianni Andrisani, Maurice Schuring, Valentin Klus, Zen Rudenberg, Lars Zanen, Artem Mikhailov, Dan Zopfi, Jaroslav Zimanchka, Derek Janssen, Rasmus Vendelbo, Rasmus Andersson, Alexander Abskavza, I'll get that surname right if it kills me before the end of the weekend, Flint Schuring, Summer Webb, Patrick Knowles, Lokmelis, Sam Bergstein, Daniel Sorankov, Bruno Molders, and Jarno Zopfi, with Christian de Klein being the only driver not to finish the race. Well, thank you very much to our man in the pit lane, Ben van der Stucken, our press and PR guy for the BNL Karting Series. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the last race of the day here at Karting Genk Home of Champions. It's the top 36 grand finale for Senior Max for this first day of the competitive season. Your grid is as follows. On the front row, it's Ilian Brunseels from Belgium. Alongside him will be Clayton Ravenscroft on the front row. Dylan Lahey and Lewis Gilbert on row 2. Charlie Turner and Kai Hunter, row 3. Mads Rees and Reese Hunter, row 4. Jason Lockwood and Patrick Rundqvist round out the top 10. Ahead of the following 25 or so other drivers. Storm Brouwer in 11th, Andreas Herbert, Ben Davis, Lorenzo Stolk, Alex Pendlebury, Teddy Clinton, Sam Harrison, Ben Donkin, Emily de Hoys, Bramo Sevarda, Leroy Jägersar, Mick Knowlton, Rick Boothorn, Kian Sang, Victor Plateau, James Lowther, Henri Young, Nick van der Mosselaar, Felix Varget, Arthur Horsch, Christian Koya, Danny Kroos, Anthony Overbeek, Felix Jansson, Antoine Antier and Fabian Bock completing the 36-strong lineup, and I did that with hardly taking a breath. My goodness. Right, 13 minutes on the timer are set in stone, plus 1 additional lap for the final time here today. Red lights on the gantry. Are you ready for what is going to be an absolute slobber knocker? They go through the tram lines. Do we go green? Yes, we do. Heading into turn 1, absolute swarm of senior Rotax Max drivers. Heading into turn 1. Oh no, we've had a melee in the midfield. Absolute carnage. And we've had several karts avoid, at least 6, and 3 were involved deep in the middle of the scrum. So some drivers already compromised. That happened when I saw about 3, maybe close to 4 wide, around the mid-pack, around about sort of position 15. But the leaders now, well, Dylan LaHaye has now stolen a march on Clayton Ravenscroft and is behind Ilian Brunsils. This could get very dicey very quickly. If anyone might remember what happened in the first 3 minutes of the Rotax Max Euro Trophy round at Kristianstad in the second final, I think I've never seen so much contact in all my life. Could this be even worse? I'm not too sure, but we will find out. So we have just over 12 minutes and 15 seconds on the clock, plus an additional lap. LaHaye closes on Brunsils for that coveted lead position, but Ravenscroft will have absolutely none of it if he gets his way. You think what Lewis Gilbert tried earlier on and didn't do it? Well, Clayton Ravenscroft did that last year in the final round in October, overtaking 2 drivers. So, have we still got all 36 circulating? Yes, we have. That's great news. Everyone has got back up and running. And there's been quite a few losers in this. We've had the likes of Ben Davis down in 25th position. Antoine Antier's up into 26th. Ben Donkin down in 28th. Rick Boothorn down in 30th. So your top 10 at the moment is Brunsils, LaHaye, Ravenscroft, Rees, Turner, Kai Hunter, Lewis Gilbert, Jason Lockwood, Reese Hunter and Patrick Rundqvist. That is your top 10, and the lead has changed. Brunsils down into 3rd because both LaHaye and Ravenscroft have gotten past. And behind them is the number 369 of Mads Rees, and then you've got Kai Hunter, Charlie Turner and Lewis Gilbert in hot pursuit. That's the top 7. Behind them you've got another train of 4 karts, which is led by Jason Lockwood, Reese Hunter, Patrick Rundqvist and Storm Brouwer. Now, whereas Mick Knowlton is not customarily where I would see him, and he's down in 22nd as Brunsil tries to muscle in on Dylan LaHaye for 2nd position. Mads Rees is also in the mix, takes a look over his right shoulder very, very briefly indeed. So Storm Brouwer and Patrick Rundqvist quite close in proximity. When I tell you that the top 11 are separated by just 2.5 seconds, this is going to go absolutely crazy, and I can't call as to when that will be, but I can guarantee you this. If you thought the junior one was exciting, this is going to get even better. Mick Knowlton's made a couple of more places. He's up to 22nd now. So he's been in the trenches as the Dutch driver, still sticking with GKS Lemon's power. But at the front of the field, Clayton Ravenscroft continues to command a lead, but it's a fractional one at the very, very most. Ahead of Dylan LaHaye, who is fending off Ilian Brunsils, Mads Rees, Charlie Turner, Kai Hunter, Lewis Gilbert. Now add Reese Hunter to that mix. That's your top 8. You can't separate them. Behind them is Jason Lockwood and Patrick Rundqvist, with Rundqvist now up into 9th place. And Mads Rees just gets overtaken as Charlie Turner just blasts past him like Rees was standing still. And Lewis Gilbert has now got himself past Kai Hunter up into 6th. This is now the intensity starting to build. The momentum starting to carry in the favour of some drivers who just might have been conserving a little bit in the qualifying heat stages a little bit earlier on. The people I feel more sorry for is the people that have had to fight for the last 8 positions on the grid. But now is where we see the cream of the crop, and I can see it's not 8 karts anymore. I have just counted 13 karts who are separated by 3.5 seconds. That's absolute madness. And the 13th kart is one of the qualifiers in the second chance heat. The Belgian kart of 3:07. Felix Varget is absolutely flying. He's just done a 54.8. He's 2/10 off of Andreas Herbert in 12th position. The fastest lap goes to the top honour. Well, Dylan LaHaye, in the meantime, has got past Clayton Ravenscroft. And Charlie Turner might have just accidentally made contact with Ilian Brunseels, which has allowed... I think that is... I'm just trying to keep an eye on who that is. That is Mads Rees, now back up into 4th position. So a bit of contact, and that unsettled Brunseels down the back straight away. No, it's Mads Rees. So Lewis Gilbert up into 6th position. Reese Hunter and Kai Hunter ran at the top 8. So Felix Varget has made an absolute mincemeat of the second half of the field and has gone, well, I have competed in the Rotax Grand Finals. This just shows that calibre of that Belgian. So he's doing a great job as the 307. He's keeping in touch with the likes of Andreas Herbert, Stomper and Jason Lockwood. Lockwood completes the top 10 at the moment, but for how much longer? This depends on what happens as Varget goes past. I think that was Stormblower maybe going through. Yes, that was the case. So Varget up into 12th as Ravenscroft is battling tooth and nail with Charlie Turner for 2nd position as Dylan LaHaye is being allowed to get away with it all. The Belgian, I think, might have to count his lucky stars, or not count his the chicken before the egg, so to speak, because it's not over yet. Anything can happen as Ravenscroft is in the middle of a Charlie Turner, and I think that's an Ilian Brunseels sandwich, so he's the filling is Ravenscroft, but there'll be a time when he will want to get past, and that could be any time within the next 6.25 minutes, plus 1 additional lap. Dylan LaHaye now has a comfortable gap of 1.4 seconds over the battling trio behind, maybe even make that a quartet, if you consider that Mads Rees will catch up with that very shortly. No, Mads Rees has dropped back. That's the 3:29 of Lewis Gilbert. The problem is, I always recognised Lewis when he was in KR Sport Equipment. Now he's with Persistence Motorsport, and that's thrown me a curveball. So, Mads Rees now drops down the order. So, we still have this great battle royale between Charlie Turner, Clayton Ravenscroft, Ilian Brunseels, and now Lewis Gilbert, the Doroi Diamond, who shone quite brightly at the kickoff. Ravenscroft goes back up the inside of Turner to retake 2nd position. Turner responds by trying to bump draft, but Brunseels swamps all over the Brits and overtakes him going into turn 7. What's going to happen next? Is he going to be usurped by another Brit, another countryman in the form of Lewis Gilbert? Who's not to say that's going to happen, because they're on the run down to turn number 10, and he's gone for the move. It's side by side. Who's going to come out of turn 11 first? It's Lewis Gilbert. Gilbert's forced the issue. He's done a fantastic job. The 2 Hunters are in there as well. Turner's dropping down the order. Mads Rees goes up the inside of the pair of them. And oh my goodness, Patrick Lundqvist wants a bit of a fist fight as well. Here comes Felix Varget. I cannot believe what I'm seeing. This is absolute dynamite before our very eyes. Whoa, my goodness. And in the words of Tom Coronel, Mamma Mia. I have to enunciate that, sorry, but Dylan LaHaye, you're absolutely lucky, mate. You're getting away with it all. You're 2 seconds ahead of Clayton Ravenscroft, who's got Ilian Brunseels. Then it's a little bit further back to Lewis Gilbert. Kai Hunter Mads Ries and Charlie Turner round out the top 7, it looks like. And behind them, just keeping an eye out. Now, where is Felix Farger? He's 10th. So the Belgians come from the lower echelon of the grid up into the top 10. And he's just behind Felix Farger. I think I've just spotted behind Emily de Hoys because there was so much positional changing. Let's just see how it unfolds. LaHaye leads from Ravenscroft by 2 seconds. Farger drops to 14th. I was right. Knowlton's up into 17th position. Arthur Hosch, another one of our second chance Heat 8 driver qualifiers, now is up into 16th, ahead of Mick Knowlton. This is absolutely mind-blowing. You know, when the cards are all stacked against you, the cards, I think, have just been shuffled in a deck and thrown everywhere. That's what this final has felt like since we started racing 10 minutes ago. We've still got 3 to go, plus an additional lap. Dylan LaHaye still leads. Ilian Brunsils, I think, is pressurising Clayton Ravenscroft for this second position. But wowee, this is an absolute corker. If you're not watching the live stream right now, you are absolutely missing a treat of racing spectacle. So Ravenscroft defending to the hilt. Gilbert now looking very forlorn and lonely in 4th position. And behind they've got the battling trio of Kai Hunter, Mads Ries and Charlie Turner. That is for 5th. You go a little bit further back by about 1.1 seconds to Patrick Rundqvist, with Ries Hunter and Storm Breuer rounding out the top 10. And then the gaps behind that. So from Lockwood to Leroy Jägersar, this is 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th and 19th. That's about a second and a half. That's ridiculous. I've never used so many superlatives in one race alone, and this just takes the biscuit. Dylan LaHaye continues to lead, whereas the contretemps are going absolutely bananas. Well, they do say that bananas is good, but never mind. I'm not going to use that term of phrase yet again, am I, Alex? As we're getting more people trying to force the issue on other drivers to force their way past convincingly, but doing it firmly and fairly. The good thing is well, no, there's been a change. What's happened to Lewis Gilbert? Lewis Gilbert has dropped down to dead last. Did he park it? Has he parked it? Yes, he has. He's a lap down, so there's still 35 competitors, but one of the 36 is missing, and that is Lewis Gilbert. He was running 4th. He's now out of it. Mads Ries goes to 5th behind Kai Hunter. Or is he? Hang on a second. Yes, Mads Ries still in 5th. He's ahead of Ries Hunter. Rundqvist, Breuer and Jägersar now complete the top 10. And then Emily de Hoys is trying to strike at the UK's Jason Lockwood. Other changes in position. Mick Knowlton, so good to see that guy back in the top 15. Ben Donkin is recovering up to 27th now. James Lowther and Lorenzo Stock, who were a little bit further up the order, now into 30th and 31st. But we got 23 seconds on the clock remaining. It looks like Dylan LaHaye is running away with it. The 3:28 from Belgium, in those proudly sporting for the 7th successive season the GKS Lemons Power colours. Ahead of KR Sports, Clayton Ravenscroft with Boven Power, Ilian Brunsils. Then it's the Dan Holland Racing cars of Kai Hunter and Charlie Turner there, with Mads Ries, who's running as an independent, still proudly running with that love. I mean, he had a very different set of overalls last year, but now he's running in the Danish flag colours. That just shows proudness, proud to be who he is, and he's a great character as well. So it's going to be this plus one more lap to go. Dylan LaHaye has a lead of 1.83 seconds ahead of Clayton Ravenscroft. And I tell you what, I think he just can cruise to the finish right now as he comes through turn 10, through the left-hander at turn 11 and round turn 12 to now see, well, hang on, is this the checkered flag? It is! Dylan LaHaye takes the win in the top 36 Senior Max final. Clayton Ravenscroft takes second ahead of Ilian Brunsils. Kai Hunter and Charlie Turner round out the top 5. Turner taking it from Mads Wies on the last lap alone. And I'm just going to wait for everybody to finish before I go through this absolutely ballistic, crazy behemoth of a top 36 final. That was mental, I think, in the words of one of my fellow commentator friends. I know he would agree with me on that one, wouldn't you? You know who you are. But yes, that was absolutely mental for 14 and a half minutes of action. So your final running order to conclude day 1 of round 1 of the 29 BNL Karting Series season is as follows. For the Senior Max Top 36 final, the win went to Dylan LaHaye by 1.676 seconds ahead of Clayton Ravenscroft, with Ilian Brunsils rounding out the top 3, followed by Kai Hunter and Charlie Turner from the UK. Mads Wies made it a Dane in the top 6, in 6th position ahead of Reese Hunter, with Patrick Rundqvist, Storm Brewer and Leroy Jägersar rounding out the top 10. Jason Lockwood, Felix Farger, Emily De Hoys, Mick Knowlton, Arthur Horsch, Ben Davis, Henri Young, Teddy Clinton, Victor Plateau and Fabian Bock completed the top 20, with Christian Kuya, Sam Harrison, Kian Sang, Andreas Herbert, Alex Pendlebury, Rick Boothorn, Nick van der Mosselaar, Ben Donkin, Danny Kroos, Lorenzo Stolk, James Lauder, Anthony Overbeek, Bramo Sevarda, Antoine Ontier and Felix Janssen being the last of the 36 finishers, with unfortunately 4 laps from the end, Lewis Gilbert was forced to retire. Well, for those listening on the Downforce Radio Network, thank you very much for tuning in for today. It's been a pleasure being the series commentator of the BNL Karting Series here at the Home of Champions. We've had some great qualifying. As you've probably just heard, that there's been a lot of action out on track. We look forward to being with you at around about 9:15 tomorrow morning, local time. So in the UK, need to make sure that if you want to get up, set your alarm for around 7:30 tomorrow morning. That's it from me, Alex Goldschmidt, here on the Downforce Radio Network. Signing off until tomorrow morning. Thanks for listening.